Hi, my name is Nelson Nguyen, and today I will be presenting the topic of drug tourism. What is drug tourism? Drug tourism, also known as narcotourism, is the act of traveling or visiting a location to purchase and use substances that are typically not legal within their home country or state. A minor example of drug tourism is marijuana. Marijuana, though is legal in many of the states in the US, is not legal in every single one. Kansas is a prime example. It is completely illegal to obtain and use marijuana for personal or medical use. This would mean anyone living in Kansas, if they really wanted to use marijuana, would have to travel to a state where it's legal, like California, Arizona, or Oregon. And by going there and using marijuana, it is drug tourism. Drug tourism is actually a lot more common than most people would think. This is because of the close proximity and the widespread issues with drugs being all around the world. For example, Thailand, Mexico, India, Indonesia, the Netherlands, specifically in Amsterdam, there are drugs rampant around the areas, and many people travel and participate in drug tourism by going there and purchasing drugs. A very common area where US citizens would go to obtain drugs is Mexico, due to how much drugs are created throughout the country due to the corruption that is unfortunately in the country. Drug tourism is a safety risk to those involved with it. Drugs, of course, have negative impacts on the people. Drugs can lead to addiction, and addiction could lead to broken families, huge decrease of physical and mental health, and if they're really that addicted, it could start affecting the families, finances. It could affect anyone, even people who aren't born yet. Now, some people say drug tourism is a good thing, as it creates jobs for workers living in those countries, as usually drugs come from low economical status countries, and by them creating drugs, it's increasing the economy of that country, and just using drugs overall is a good way to unwind or relax from stress. However, drugs, of course, they're highly addictive. And by you choosing to relieve your stress with drugs, you are increasing your chances of getting addicted. And because you're getting addicted to these drugs, it could affect your money sake. And supporting drug tourism gives the drug distributors, the drug makers, more power and control in ruining people's lives, as they can create more drugs, and with more drugs causes more problems throughout the world due to drugs having higher chances of having someone commit crimes or have themselves get harmed in some way. Supporting drugs also affect the people living around it and the workers. And a prime example is Mexico. By purchasing cocaine, which is popular in Mexico due to how much of the Mexican cartel creates, you are indirectly spreading more corruption throughout the country, as because they're having more money, they have a higher chance of purchasing more weapons and with more weapons, they could terrorize the citizens living in Mexico, and it'll put more people's lives in danger when they just wanted to live their life. And a counter argument was that drugs helped boost the economy, and that is the complete opposite due to also in Mexico, because of all the corruption in Mexico. Mexico has a struggling economical status. Many of the people living there, on paper, should be meeting meets end. However, they're struggling and they're just barely surviving, living paycheck to paycheck. Just think about this. By doing drugs and participating in drug tourism, traveling there by purchasing their drugs, you're participating in this. You see this? Drug tourism, overall, will put you, your family, and innocent people at risk of harm or even death. And these are some references.